Greetings, mortals. It is I, Remortis. With Baldur's Gate 3 on the rise, today I am bringing you some build guides for Barbarians. These builds are intended to give you ideas on how to play or build your Barbarians. But ultimately, the decision is yours, as there's no right or wrong way to play. These are just some of my ideas. Each build I'm presenting you today will have a few options, a simple overall build, some flavor options, and some complex multiclass optimization as well. We'll also go over what to look for when creating a Barbarian, and what to expect over the course of the game. Let's get into it, shall we? First, let's begin with the creation of your Barbarian. For Ancestries, there's a few good choices to pick from. It really depends on what kind of feel you want to go for. In the early access, each Ancestry has specific stats associated with them. However, come the full release, you should be able to choose whatever stat boosts you want to receive, whether it's +2 in one stat and 1 in another, or +1 to 3 different stats, expanding the type of Ancestry you wish to play. In my opinion, however, I think certain races are better than others to become a Barbarian. Most notably are the Human, the Dwarf, the Zariel Tiefling, Half-Orcs, and Dragonborns, mostly due to the other racial bonuses they receive. However, Half-Orcs will probably be your go-to for most martial classes. The Barbarian is no exception, and it really just goes hand in hand with them, granting you extra damage on your critical strikes with their savage attacks. Endurance allows you to survive a killing blow with 1 HP, even making you more durable, and Proficiency with Intimidation, which I think is one of the better skills for your angry ball of fury to have. Speaking of skills, let's move on to the skill proficiencies and background. The go-to option for Barbarians is typically the Outlander. The Outlander is somebody who grew in the wilds away from civilization or is a nomad. Perhaps that is why they're so uncouth or rough around the edges. Choosing this background will give you proficiencies in both athletics and survival, which are solid choices for Barbarians to have. That being said, you already have access to these skills as a Barbarian, but this will just give you these options for free, and you can choose 2 other Barbarian proficiencies if you so desire. You could also choose the Folk Hero or Soldier, which also give you similar skill proficiencies that the Barbarian can already give you. These backgrounds do affect your gameplay a little bit, that if you do certain deeds or act in certain ways, you'll gain a point of inspiration, which will allow you to re-roll skill checks whenever you fail, which can be quite useful in critical situations. An example would be for the Soldier background. In an early fight in the game, if all the friendly NPCs survive, you gain a point of inspiration by protecting all the innocent. Anyhow, for the purpose of this build, we'll just keep it simple and choose a Half-Orc Outlander. On to the attribute points. The key stats we want are Strength, Constitution, and Dexterity, and to a lesser extent, Charisma. Our Strength will increase the amount of damage you deal, and will help increase your carry weight and the ability to throw things, which is quite vital for this build. Dexterity will help you move faster in the turn order and help you increase your AC while not wearing armor, to do unarmored defense. Constitution will increase your health and will also increase your AC thanks to unarmored defense. And Charisma will affect your ability to persuade or intimidate, which is why I prefer not to have a negative in this trait, in case you really want to scare somebody. And if you choose the Berserker, they have a few humorous dialogue options, typically yelling at the top of their lungs to make people do what they want. So now that the character creation's out of the way, you'll play as normal until you hit level 3, which is where you'll make a subclass selection, which is what really distinguishes each Barbarian from each other. They all have access to Rage, which is the core mechanic of the Barbarian, which, while in combat, you can activate your range, which will increase the damage you deal, and reduce all physical damage you take from blunt, piercing, and slashing damage. This makes Barbarians rather durable in combat, especially in the early levels when magic isn't too prevalent. Come launch, we'll have access to the Berserker, the Wild Heart, and the Wild Magic Barbarians. We'll actually go over a build possibility for each of these subclasses, starting with what I think is the quintessential Barbarian. Do you like to smash things with something big? Do you like to throw salami and mortally wound your foes? Do you like to yell? Do you just want to be Holga from the D&D movie? Well, look no further than the Berserker. The Berserker in Baldur's Gate 3 is quite a bit stronger than the one we're familiar with in D&D 5th edition, as it doesn't get exhaustion after raging, which is huge. You can also use your bonus action to make a weapon attack. But not only that, Larian also added the ability to throw something as a bonus action and knock your enemy prone. This could be anything you wish to throw. It could be a weapon, or some food in your bag, such as salami or potatoes, or whatever junk is lying around you, or in your bags. Essentially, this will mean that you can swing that big beefy two-hander 2 times per round, using your bonus action attack, and your main attack. But note that you'll have to wait until your second turn for the bonus attack, since your first turn will be used to rage, and you can't preemptively rage unless you're in combat. So just, again, keep that in mind. So enjoy smashing everything with that bonus attack, or use your bonus action to throw something or someone at your enemy and make them prone. And then you can use your regular attack afterwards and give yourself advantage since your enemy will be on the floor. And note, I did say someone. Eventually, when your strength is high enough, you'll be able to throw other people around, whether it be your friend or foes. The smaller the better. At level 4, we'll have the option to increase our stats or take a feat. Since we're forced to point buy with our stats at character creation, the option to increase our stats is very valuable. But there are some great feats for us to take here as well. Most notably, Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master, and Sentinel. Great Weapon Master allows us to take a penalty to our chance to hit in order to do incredible damage with our weapon. Polearm Master, which gives us more ways to get bonus action attacks, as long as we're using a polearm, or spear, or quarterstaff, and reaction attacks when other things get in our range. Though this bonus attack option from the feat is not really that appealing to us as a Berserker since we have our rage bonus attack. Sentinel is also a great choice for making opportunity attacks when it's not our turn, and make them halt in place if you do hit them during an opportunity trigger. Otherwise, an increase to strength or constitution is always welcome. At level 5, we'll get our extra attack and increased movement speed to boot, giving us up to 3 weapon swings per turn thanks to our bonus rage attack. At level 6, we'll gain the ability to not be frightened or charmed while we're in rage, also allowing us to break those effects by raging out of them. We'll also have up to 4 charges of rage per long rest. At this point, we can either decide to stay Berserker or multi-class into other classes. Staying until at least level 9 is a solid choice. At level 7, you'll gain Feral Instinct, a trait that gives you advantage on initiative and also prevents you from being surprised so long as you're not incapacitated and as long as you use your rage before doing anything else on your turn. At level 9, you get access to Brutal Critical, which allows you to roll an extra damage die on critical strikes with a melee attack. And if you're half-orc, that means you would roll 4 d12s with that Great Axe critical strike instead of 3. But if you do wish to multi-class, there are 3 that stand out to me, all of which can be quite flavorful in their own right. And the reason you would want to consider multi-classing in the first place is for the fact that Barbarians are really great in combat, but that's just about it. They can smash things really good, but outside of combat, they're just kind of there sucking up air. First, we'll get into the fighter, and if you do go this route, I would highly suggest 3 levels of fighter for Battlemaster. This will give us a fighting style at level 1, most likely picking up the Great Weapon fighting style, and Second Wind, a way to get free healing as a bonus action if you need it, once per short rest. At level 2, you get Action Surge, which lets us take another full action once per long rest, meaning we can attack for a total of 5 times while raging. At level 3, we get access to the Battlemaster maneuvers, which are special strikes that we can get that deal extra damage and perform special actions, such as disarming your enemy, tripping them, scaring them, or even striking at them if they were to miss you. But keep in mind, if you do go this route, again, you will only be good at combat, but oh boy, will you be good at it. The Ranger is another obvious choice, as it's on the theme with the outdoorsy loner type, which is kind of the vibe that Barbarians usually give off. This will give you ample skills to aid you in the wilderness, and it will also give you a fighting style to boot, similar to the Fighter. Larian Studios also added their own tweaks to the Ranger, letting you pick a special Ranger background to further specialize your Ranger, or a Barbarian Ranger in this case. Nothing too impactful, but it's still pretty nice flavor to get, and also gives you some slight buffs and proficiencies that you wouldn't otherwise have access to, such as a free Animal Familiar or even Sleight of Hand. As for the subclasses options given to us for the Ranger on launch, I would suggest going with the Hunter option, and in particular picking the Colossus Slayer feature, as it'll give you a consistent 1d8 extra damage per turn on anything below maximum hit points. Obviously, Gloomstalker's a really good Ranger, but for flavor and even stat attribution optimization, this build isn't really built around stealth and probably won't have enough wisdom to really take advantage of the wisdom initiative. And speaking of flavor, for this multi-class dip, I would suggest being a Wood Elf for your Ancestry, to give you that forest fighter vibe that if anyone steps on the wrong twig, you will personally dish out Mother Nature's wrath. And lastly, we'll go over one of the more unorthodox multi-class options for Barbarians, the Warlock. particularly with the Fiend Warlock, which will grant us temporary hit points every time we kill an enemy. This is especially nice considering that while we're raging, we're effectively taking half damage from physical attacks, which essentially doubles the amount of temporary hit points we're receiving. The amount of hit points that we gain is equal to our Warlock level plus our Charisma modifier, which truthfully won't be huge since we'll probably only have about 14 Charisma. But if you have 3 to 6 levels of Warlock, that's 5 to 8 free HP every time you kill something, which may not sound very impressive, but it'll definitely add up over time and it'll save you countless potions and short rests. And that is only one of the base features that the Fiend Warlock will provide you. At level 2, your Warlock will get Eldritch Invocations, which gives us access to free skills and spells like Speaking to Animals, Mage Armor, or Disguise Self, or ways to modify your Eldritch Blast. Oh yeah, we get spells as a Warlock, though I probably should have mentioned that we get a few spells as Ranger too, but that's neither here nor there. A thing to note though is that you can't cast spells while you're raging, or concentrate on spells, so make sure you cast your spells ahead of time, or if you don't feel like raging. One particular standout spell that the Warlock has access to is Armor of Agathis, which gives you temporary hit points and inflicts damage anytime an enemy strikes you while the shield remains. If you upcast this and rage afterwards, you can extend the temporary hit points, which allows you to deal solid amounts of damage each time you're hit. At level 3, your Warlock will get a Pact Boon, which are gifts bestowed upon you by your patron, that also will grant you access to certain Eldritch Invocations at higher levels. 2 of which I think are our only real options here, Pact of the Blade and Pact of the Chain, though really, Blade suits the Barbarian much more, allowing you to summon dismiss a weapon at will, meaning others can't steal your weapon, and the invocations associated with the Pact of the Blade are some interesting damage dealing options as well. The Pact of the Chain, however, will allow you to summon tiny demons to assist you, and you can have different ways to buff them. And they're just pretty fun to have as a stronger Find Familiar. If you do consider this build, perhaps you might only do 3 to 4 levels of Berserker. I would probably choose 4 just so you can get that extra feat or bonus stats, and then finish it out as Warlock. For this Fiend Warlock multiclass, for flavor, I really like the idea of a Zuriel Tiefling with the noble background, mostly because they get the access to the spell Thaumaturge, which gives you an advantage on intimidation tech. Perhaps you might even bump your charisma up to 16 and be more of an elegant face type character, which means that they are good at interacting with people and NPCs through persuasion and intimidation, being a fancy devil normally, and then giving into your demonic rage when you need to fight. Perhaps you were a noble from Elturel before the tieflings were banished. I really hope you enjoyed this video. The other 2 barbarian subclasses will be done in a future one. The builds I have planned for that video include the Barbarian, the Bardbarian, and the Wild Magic Barbarian. Stay tuned for those. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Hopefully I can get more of these build guides out before the game launches, and I hope to see you there in the next video. Again, thanks for watching, and farewell for now.